Okay, so this is my dresser slash nightstand. I keep my makeup in this top portion. It's one of those secretary desks. So I'm gonna go from biggest category to smallest category. Okay, so I'm re-recording this the next day because my room was too dark and the lighting was pretty bad. My biggest category is blush. Okay, so this year I have 9 blushes and last year I had 11 of them. I bought this one last year. I also decluttered a red blush and this is the one that I moved to the eyeshadow category. So now I'm gonna rank them between 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10. 10 out of 10 means that they're my favorite, 8 out of 10 means that they're good, 7 out of 10 means that I don't use them that often and maybe I should declutter, but I still am keeping them. Okay, so 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10. It's fine. Oh no, I did get it. So my next category is lip products. I had 6 last year and now I have 7. So these 3 are liquid lipsticks, these 2 are tinted lip balms, and then these 2 are clear. This one, and these 2 are from this year. I actually finished a bunch of lip balm products this year, so that was good. I guess I should say 2024. So even though I gained 1, I did go through more of them. Yeah, so now for ranking them, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10 because it's not transfer proof. So the next category is eyeliners. This year I have 5 and last year I had 4 of them. I did finish 2 eyeliners. One of the liquid ones dried out on me and the other one I finished was the brown liner. And I think I had lost one of the eyeliners, either the black one or the brown one. And these are the 2 new ones that I bought this year. As for ranking them, out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10, mostly because I don't use these that often. Next category is single eyeshadows. So this year I have 5 and last year I had 4 of them. I purchased this one last year and this one was moved from my blushes to eyeshadows. Okay, and then for ranking them, out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 7 out of 10. They changed the formula in this. This one is a new formula, but it's still sparkly, but it's orange, so I don't wear it that often. Okay, so next up, brushes. Last year I had 5 and now I have 4. I lost one of my brushes. It was one of the fluffy ones. I had another one of these, but I moved it to my painting supplies, so I think I'm gonna actually move it back since I lost the other fluffy one. And this is the only new thing that I got. I just got it like a couple days ago. I'm still figuring it out. I would consider buying like kind of nicer brushes because these are a little bit pokey. I don't want to spend more than 20 bucks on a brush. Like that seems kind of ridiculous. For eyeshadow palettes, I have 3. I depotted everything. And I might end up moving this to the palettes. But for now, I have the 3. So for new things that I got in 2024, I got the red palette. And I got these chunky glitters in another palette, and the last one was this Wet n Wild eyeshadow palette. I'm basically rotating through my eyeshadows to see what I declutter and what I keep. There's a bunch of them that I was on the fence about, but I kind of want to try and figure them out more, especially these like light colors And the light shimmers, I want to see if I can make the light shimmers work with topping them on top of the pinks and the reds maybe. And these, I want to see if they're useful for blending, because usually I just do 1 or 2 shades on my eye. I do remember these are a little bit powdery, so I don't know, but I still want to try them at least one more time through my rotations, you know? Okay, so the next thing are face palettes, which I had 1 last year and now I have 2. I feel like this I end up just keeping because of the packaging, but I'm trying to figure it out, okay? I've had it for a couple years. This blush actually looks cute if I like pile it on hardcore. And then this one, I like it as an inner corner, but it's kind of hard for it to show up. And then these two I haven't figured out. And then this is a palette that I bought last year. For primer, I had 0 last year and now I have 1. I just got it last month, so I'm still figuring it out. Even though it does make my skin matte, I feel like after I put the foundation, it kind of goes away. But again, I'm still figuring it out. Eyelash curler, I still have the same one from last year. I started using it more often, so that's good. For mascara, last year I had 1 and now I have 1. Throughout the year, I did have 2 at a time, but there were different colors from the same brand, which is CoverGirl. It's gonna be out of order, but anyway, so for eyeshadow primer, I had 0 last year and now I have 1. I've only used it a few times and I feel like it makes the eyeshadow worse. So still figuring it out. And then for powder, I had 0 last year and now I have 1. I just got this a few days ago and I'm still figuring it out. I feel like it leaves somewhat of a white cast. So yeah. Last year I had 2 foundations and now I have 1. I bought the foundation last year and I ended up decluttering a MAC foundation that was 4 years old because I felt like it was breaking me out. I only want to have 1 foundation at a time. Maybe I will consider getting back a concealer, but for now I'm okay with just this. Which, speaking of which, I had 1 concealer last year and now I have 0. The foundation I have on my wish list is the CoverGirl one with the little beads. So depending on if that's not opaque enough, I might consider getting a concealer. And then for contour, I had 1 last year and now I have 0. I just could not figure it out. It looked bad on me. Lately, I have also been trying contouring with eyeshadow and it just doesn't work out. So I think I'm good with not having it in my collection. And so the total products I have this year is 41 and last year I had 42, so I went down by 1. I did finish some products, but some of the things were also decluttered. Okay, so I also counted my pans, and for blush I have 16 and for eyeshadow I have 81. Thank you for watching my inventory video. Now I'm gonna have a really long rambling about makeup consumerism, and it kind of goes all over the place. Okay, so I have 3 main rants that I wanted to go over. First one is decluttering, second one is hyper-focusing on makeup, and the third thing is influencers and ads and all that stuff. Okay, so at some point I had 18 blushes, and the only reason how I got to 9 blushes this year is through decluttering. I haven't finished any blushes, and I don't want my numbers to get as high as that. I do have 1 blush on my wish list, but even then I feel guilty buying it because it's so similar to one of my blushes already. Maybe even 2 of them. I feel like after going on the makeup no-buy last year for the 6 or 7 months that it was, I kind of noticed that a lot of the times whenever I would declutter, I would end up buying more stuff, and it was just kind of a cycle of decluttering and buying and decluttering and buying. It wasn't like a lot, but it was still, you know, like I said, I had 18 blushes and now I have 9. So at some point, I decluttered at least 9 other ones. So I don't want to do that, and so that is why I'm trying to, you know, focus on project panning and trying to do replacement only and just buy a product if I finish a product. Because if I were to do one in one out with decluttering, that's just kind of defeats the purpose because I'm still buying stuff, you know? At the same time, sometimes I do find that I end up obsessing over project panning, and with either my own stuff or with just watching content, which can be bad too. I feel like that usually happens like after I post my video and then I'm like looking at other people's, but anyway, that's that. And then with influencers and all that, I know that my makeup collection isn't as big as other people's, specifically people that review makeup on YouTube, but it's still kind of a lot for a normal person. I have been watching like anti-consumption videos, although even those are starting to annoy me too. Yeah, which I guess I forgot to touch on minimalism, because I feel like that's kind of bad too. Okay, I used to watch a lot of people that did stuff about minimalism, but I feel like at some point it becomes somewhat toxic. Well, first of all, it starts feeling like a cult, which I mean, I feel like being part of any community on YouTube, it starts to feel a little bit culty in a way. I don't like when people tell me what to do, and it just kind of preachy and annoying that people were saying, oh, you should only have this amount of towels and this amount of plates and all that. I guess I prefer when people are like, minimalism is different for everybody and blah, blah, blah. I like that approach better. I still kind of consider myself a moderate minimalist, and in some aspects of my life, I have more than in others. For me, it's makeup. I have more shit. And versus like shoes, I don't give a shit about shoes, you know? So there's two things. One thing with minimalism when it becomes bad is when you're just buying to declutter and buying to declutter. You know, like that's kind of bad, which I get. You know, sometimes things don't work out and you like were mindful about buying whatever the thing was and it just doesn't work out, and it's okay to declutter, right? I'm not saying that it's wrong on all parts or whatever. The other thing is that sometimes with minimalism, you start to obsess over like, oh, what else can I get rid of? That's when it becomes like bad. I actually did listen to Marie Kondo's book, and she actually talks about that. A lot of people just talk about oh, I'm only going to keep whatever sparks joy or whatever. But she did mention that at some point she became too obsessed with getting rid of stuff and thinking like, oh, what else can I get rid of? So yeah, instead of thinking like, what else can I get rid of, to be like, okay, I'm going to keep this because it sparks joy or whatever. So like I said, there were some things that were 7 out of 10 for me, and even some of the eyeshadow I'm kind of meh about. But I don't want to get rid of stuff because I don't want to, you know, give permission to buy more things just to keep doing the same thing, you know? So when I was talking about rotating through my eyeshadow, I'm going to give, you know, one last chance to the stuff that I'm figuring out or whatever. And then if I really don't think it's going to work out and I'm just never going to wear it, and or it makes everything worse, you know, my makeup worse, then I'll get rid of it. So that's kind of the first point. And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about was influencers and all that, and how they have somewhat normalized having a makeup collection, because even saying collection is a bit strange. And yes, I have watched anti-consumerism videos, which those kind of also have been annoying me because they're starting to sound kind of preachy again, which I get that is the point for them to lecture you, but I kind of have stopped watching them because I feel like I get it, you know? Influencer stuff, which I have so many different fucking points. It's all over the place. As y'all know, makeup and hair stuff and all that, it started off as people doing tutorials and explaining, this is how you apply, you know, foundation and blah, blah, blah. This is how you do your hair. I used to watch a lot of hair videos when I was younger. Makeup wasn't on my radar until like later on, like when I was in college. But yeah, high school, I was all about trying to get curly hair. Anyway, but point is that old school YouTube, it was just people showing how to do stuff and people, you know, sharing their love for things, right? And then it became a job, right? It became an influencer thing because companies started seeing that when somebody talked about a thing, then other people would buy that thing. Now it just doesn't seem as genuine, you know, when people are talking about stuff, which is why I tend to like to watch smaller YouTube creators. A lot of people say like, we kind of need the influencers to show us what to buy. But even then, it's kind of hard, right? Because if you're like, okay, I need a foundation, I'm going to watch reviews, that makes sense. That totally fucking makes sense. Or if you're considering buying a foundation, then you look at a couple of reviews. I get that. But if you're subscribed to someone that's doing reviews and like doing reviews on every single product that comes out, then it's like you can't really buy everything, you know? If you were to buy just like a percent of all the reviews, you would still have a lot of makeup. You know what I mean? If you're just like listening to stuff and you're not influenced at all 100% to buy things, that's fine, you know? But you still get, you know, like that, I don't know what it's called in English, but you get the like espinita, you know, to like be like, okay, you know, maybe that would be a good thing for me, you know? Even for me, like, I sometimes feel kind of bad talking about stuff because, I mean, I don't consider myself an influencer because I'm not making money off of stuff. Which, okay, by the way, I did have an Amazon Associates, which, how does it work? So there's Amazon Associates and Amazon Storefront. For the Storefront, you need to have way more subscribers. And for the Associates, I don't know how many you need, but anyway, I was granted that. And basically, you link Amazon things, but you have to do like 2 or 3 different steps where you copy and paste your link into the Associates link and then you get a new link. Anyway, so it's a lot of work. I stopped linking stuff because one, it was kind of hard on my hands. Like it was just too much clicking and it was hard on my hands. I think you also needed to have like a certain amount of things to sell in order to keep your account. So I think I made like $1. Point is that Amazon was like, oh, we're gonna cancel your account. So I was like, okay, but you can open it again. So then I opened it again and then I was like, you know what, this is dumb. Just kind of felt kind of scammy in a way because I felt like I was being scammed because it's like, oh, I'm like free advertisement. But the other thing is that I didn't want to influence people to buy things. You know what I mean? But like I still wanted to do my evaluating my purchases or whatever to keep myself accountable and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I feel like in my last video, I was trying to be a little bit better about saying the brands, which, by the way, sorry, I did not say the brands in this video. Like, I mean, if you're curious, you can just ask me, what is this blush? And I'll tell you. But I guess I also don't want to influence people. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain it. Which, I mean, the chronic pain video with all the links of all the stuff, I'm gonna, even if I'm not getting a kickback or whatever, obviously I'm just gonna fucking leave it because that one, I feel like it is useful if someone with chronic pain comes across it or whatever. But anyway, they canceled my account again. Okay, and again, I'm not saying that it's bad that the influencers have a kickback, but at the same time, you kind of have to understand that they do get a kickback, you know what I mean? So the other thing is that a lot of the times, if you're into makeup stuff, it's kind of like you're willingly watching ads, which is kind of weird. Like, I do that too, right? Sometimes I kind of try to think about that in that way. And even like when like the Project Pan stuff, when people are talking about the products or even like their empties, they are reviewing the products, which I like. Even then, that's sort of watching an ad, you know, willingly watching an ad. And also I'm willingly making an ad, you know, free advertisement or whatever, when I make, you know, videos about stuff. You know what I fucking hate also? When people say, run, don't walk to get this item. Again, I don't like when people tell me what to do, but I fucking hate when people say that. Like, that's so annoying. I feel like you don't really need anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really need a makeup product like that. I feel like some people love everything, and that's really awesome, you know? I am somewhat of a negative Nancy in general, but also with stuff I buy. Not everything is a 10 out of 10, like I said. There's just a lot of stuff that's just like okay, and it's like people make it seem like it's the best thing ever when it's not. That's kind of annoying to me too. Okay, and then going back to Amazon, I was explaining to my husband why I ended up just leaving the account closed, and he was like, it kind of sounds like Amazon's a pyramid scheme, and it honestly really fucking is, y'all. So yeah, so I guess I just felt like I was at the bottom of the pyramid or whatever, and I just kind of was like, man, whatever. I can still talk about the stuff that I buy, but not in that format. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was self-worth and hyper-focus stuff. I have a very bad habit of placing my self-worth on one thing. It switches, but it's pretty bad. And last semester, I was focusing it on my intelligence and if I was doing good or bad in school. And if I was doing good, then I felt good, and if I was doing bad, then I felt bad. I feel like lately I've been focusing on my looks as my self-worth, which is really fucking bad. And other times it's on like the cleanliness of my house, the level of productivity. Like, it fucking ranges, and it can switch, often-ish. But lately it's been on makeup, and also my heater's on, so now it's probably gonna be annoying. Which I mainly wanted to talk about the primer and the powder. Basically, the primer was on my wish list for a month as I was waiting for my no bite to be lifted, and I just overhyped it in my mind. And when I tried it, it did something, but it wasn't like completely magical, as I've talked about. And the white cast is questionable. So then I was like, okay, then now I need a powder, because maybe that will solve my issue. And then I bought it, and same thing. It like did a little bit of something, but then at the same time, it's like doesn't make it worse because it has somewhat of a white cast, Which, still figuring it out or whatever. But I feel like I started hyper focusing on that, on my pores, and on my looks, specifically with my face. And then same thing, if I felt cute, then I felt good about myself. If I felt ugly, then I felt bad about myself. And I know that I'm totally using makeup as a distraction because I'm so anxious about school happening next week. And I know that once I start school, I'm going to be focusing on that instead. But I'm kind of annoyed that it's like all or nothing for me. I also just kind of want to be okay with everything, but then I feel like if I do that, then it kind of becomes like everything is unimportant, I follow Julian himself, and he talks about like social anxiety and that sort of stuff. But it's something along the lines of that you don't have to prove your worth existing. He explains it way better, but meaning that you don't really have to like show anybody that you're cool or whatever. And I feel like I'm guilty of it. It's not that I'm doing everything for other people. It sometimes kind of feels like it. For example, I feel self-conscious that I'm unemployed, but it's more so because of what other people think of me. And I don't know why I care about what people think of me. And like same with hobbies and stuff. See, and now I have a migraine, and now I'm like trying to keep it together and finish my point. I don't know where I was going with this. Okay, so it's the next day, migraine is gone. I wasn't gonna post this, but since I've been editing it, I might as well. It's all over the place, but I'm still gonna post it because I want to speak my mind or whatever. So I was talking about hobbies, and I was talking about how sometimes I feel like I'm doing hobbies so that I appear interesting to other people. But then sometimes I'm doing hobbies just for me. And then sometimes it feels like you have to kind of perform the hobbies for other people for it to be a real one. I don't know if that makes sense. Eventually, I would like to be in a real band, as in sing in front of people and not just have the Spotify thing. That's a whole separate thing. But it goes back and forth. Sometimes for me, sometimes for other people. Likewise, I feel like makeup and other stuff is the same way. Sometimes it's for me, sometimes it's for other people, and sometimes in between. The other thing that I wanted to talk about that I forgot to mention yesterday, at some point I started watching tutorial makeup content. It was kind of more like artsy type of tutorials, but a lot of the women had like a specific look, and I felt like I was starting to compare myself to them and like thinking like, oh, I don't have this facial feature and she's so much prettier than me and like all this stuff. And so I kind of stopped watching tutorials. I guess lately I've been focusing more on actually recording and editing stuff rather than watching stuff. The other point that I was trying to make was that if I start to think that nothing matters, then it can lead to depression, and I don't want that to happen either, because that's usually what happens. If I start to think that nothing matters, then it's like, okay, well then nothing matters, so then why do anything? Okay, so how to turn off my heater. So basically, I just need to find a balance between being okay with where I'm at, but also striving to improve a little bit at a time. And that means with social anxiety, working out, makeup skills, and hobbies, and blah, blah, blah. For self-worth, I think for me, it's somewhat healthy to
measure it with my level of productivity, but not to the fucking extreme. To be okay with at least being able to do one of the things from my to-do list and not being upset if I don't get everything done from my to-do list. And that means, you know, cleaning the house or, you know, posting a video or whatever. This was all over the place. Thank you for watching and for listening. Bye.